Today joining me on GHC Coffee Break will be Erin from the Hospitality House. Get your coffee and we'll be right back.
"7,000 high school students drop out every school day. That's a line of desks more than 4 miles long. We can keep students in school. Visit boostup.org and take the first step.
Welcome to GHC Coffee Break. Joining me today is Erin.
Demiskita.
I told her she's going to have to say her name. Demiskita.
Demiskita, yeah.
Beautiful name. But
Thank you.
Erin is from the Hospitality House in Rome, I believe.
I am.
It's a battered women's shelter.
We are a shelter, among other things.
Okay.
We are essentially Floyd County's only emergency and outreach resource for domestic violence victims.
Wow.
So, yeah, we're a shelter on top of many different types of advocacy, including financial, legal, and social service.
Okay, so all the above.
All of the above, yeah.
Well, October, as you know, obviously,
Right.
is Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Absolutely.
And so, pretty hard hitting, pretty heavy subject.
It is. It is a heavy subject, and I think that's kind of one of the things that, since I get to do public relations and community outreach, I get to, speak with the people of the community about what we do, and it is a very serious work, and you do have to have lots of compassion and strength for it. But, the women behind it are amazing. Our advocates are fun, beautiful people, and so there's that heavy side of it, but then we are all such a fun little family, and so to get out in the community with them is really, it's great.
And I think that is helpful to be able to find that smile even in the worst of situations. Obviously, you're not smiling at the situation, but it's kind of just living through the situation. So,
Right, absolutely.
I think that's really important. Well, tell us a little bit about what Hospitality House does, because there were some things you mentioned I did not realize that you were also involved with.
Right. Well, we are a shelter, like I said. The battered women's shelter is kind of the title that we like to kind of change when we can. When we're speaking to somebody, we are not just a battered women's shelter. Yes, this is heavy, and yes, women are fleeing situations at times and coming to us for that emergency shelter and food and clothing. And so, yes, that's a huge part of what we do. And we house the women and their children. But, the other types of advocacy, when they come in, and that's for women and for men. We help every victim that comes to us of domestic violence. So when it comes to the financial help, and that could be bills, that could be moving into a new place, starting new, getting to a safe place after they graduate shelter, or for a man, just getting to a safe place, we can help with that. Legal advocacy is huge. Our legal advocate is Holly Arendt, and she is amazing. She will help with temporary protective orders, which kind of keep the woman or man safe from the other for a period of time. And she'll accompany you to court, and stand by you and help you with that as well. Our child advocate is fantastic, Belinda Riddle. Will help with social service, and she also does activities with the children. We do counseling, group therapy, individual counseling. There's a lot under the roof.
Wow.
Yeah.
That does sound like a lot.
Yeah.
I think, and we'll talk a little bit more about the services in the second half of our show, but I think on the first half, really want to talk about domestic violence in and of itself.
Okay.
A lot of people, I've heard it over and over again. I'm the Human Service Program Coordinator at Highlands, and over and over again, you'll hear people that have never been in that situation. Why don't they just leave? And it's not just that easy,
No.
as you know. So tell us a little bit about, how do you help people understand it's not just as simple as saying, get out.
Right, it's definitely not. There are several barriers that happen with the victim in their transition to survivor. It can be economic. Economic abuse is a huge branch of domestic violence, of that intimate partner violence that you see happening. So the financial and the economic, reasons for not leaving, or reasons for having a hard time leaving, or and that's when our services really do come in, and especially with that financial. But that's one barrier. There are several children when children are a part of it, everything is so much harder for, I can't imagine. I don't understand. I've never been in this situation, so it's really hard to know how someone's feeling when they're trying to move on and then trying to find that empowerment. But, our advocates work with them on safety plans. These women come to us as adults. We make no decisions for them. They come to us for help. We do everything that we can. In the end, they're their own person. They're an adult, and they make their decision about what they're going to do. And like you said, sometimes they don't leave, or that kind of thing. But a safety plan is a big deal for us, and our advocates work with the client on what they can do when they plan to actually kind of run or move on, or whatever it is. A safety plan is a big deal. So we work with them on that. We work with them on their goals, what it is they want to accomplish here, and here, that kind of thing.
Emotional, I mean, a lot of times people recognize the physical abuse. You see the bruise, you see the, but emotional abuse, to me, is detrimental. Maybe sometimes even more, because the scars will heal that you get physically, but the emotional scars seem to be harder. Yeah. And I have somebody very close to me who was in an emotional abusive situation. The weekend before they got married, she was raped by him. Of course, he wouldn't call it rape.
Of course not.
He coerced her into having sex, and she's like, she was a virgin. It was really tough. And then later, and a lot of this I didn't find out about until after the fact, because she wouldn't share it. Found out that he would say things, she started gaining weight. And I think that was because of some emotional eating. And he would say, "Oh, I want you in these sexy little dresses." Well, then when she would buy them, "You're so fat in that. You look so fat in that." So there was this ongoing emotional, horrible, and like I said, I feel guilty now looking back. Why didn't I see? After she finally did leave him, she shared some things, and kind of I think what the straw that broke the back for her was he had gotten out a gun and was waving it around in the house and saying, "You don't care about me. I'm nothing to you." And the gun went off. Luckily, I mean, I thank God every day that she or he didn't die. Well, I don't know, sometimes I think that she did not die. I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. But I get so angry. But the gun went off in the house. I mean, and it could have easily gone off and shot her. And as I said, a lot of this I didn't understand. I mean, I knew that there was some emotional verbiage, and I would say, "Hey, this is a kind of a warning sign." A lot of times it starts off with this emotional or verbal abuse, and it can lead, "Oh, no." And once she left him, that's when we found out some of the gunshots.
The scarier
and
things,
it's like, and I'm, like I said, I'm very thankful, but the emotional abuse, I think, sometimes is even, less visible because they don't talk about it and we can't see the physical bruises.
Of course. And that's a barrier in itself, because then what that's doing is completely lowering their self-worth. And so, of course, your motivation to do something different, to know that you can be independent of this person, all of that gets harder, with the emotional abuse. And it is scary because it's not something you can see and know immediately how to help with, you know what I mean?
And it always happens in somebody else's, not in somebody I know. Nobody I know would tolerate that.
Well, that's one of the things, Susan, because one of the statistics I use, because it to me it hits hard, is that 3 out of 4 Americans know somebody who is experiencing or has experienced domestic violence. So 3 out of 4 of us know somebody. And I just think that to think about that, to think about our community, downtown Rome, people are walking down Broad Street. Look at them.
Look
How many of us know,
Ooh,
So
it's chilling.
that's one of and it's hard hitting, but it's the truth, and that's why we have a job. Unfortunately, we have a domestic violence agency because
I would really not have to have this job.
Right, and that's what our advocates work every day to not have a job, basically. And it's the sad part is it's such a cycle. Through our shelter, we've seen generations, the same generation coming through. My mother, or
Wow.
that kind of thing. So it's scary that the cycle continues that way.
Let's talk about the cycle a little bit. A lot of people may have not ever heard of how the whatever happens and this person explodes upon them. It may be emotional, it may be physical, and then, oh, I'm so sorry. What they call the honeymoon stage of, oh, here's the flowers. I love you. Of course, you're everything to me, and everything might go along well for a while, which reinforces, okay, I'm going to be okay, and then boom, they do that one little thing that ticks them off again, and it recycles again. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, and I mean, this cycle. The crazy thing with intimate partner violence is that this is a person that you've put trust in. You have trusted each other. You've started a life together. Maybe you had children together. This is a big deal and a big bond. So then, in the beginning, there's this charm. There's this charm, and everything's wonderful, and we're gonna be together forever, and you would never hurt me.
Right.
And so the cycle kind of begins with charm, and it gradually works into kind of an isolation period. And that's where the abuser would begin to kind of pull the victim away from friends or kind of away from family. Maybe they put a negative connotation on the friends or something like that. Or your friends aren't good for you, or it could be anything. But it's this period of isolation where you kind of begin to take she or he away from their support, basically. So, and then you gradually, the cycle kind of comes around to introducing that abuse, and it could start out as emotional, it could start out as this verbal kind of emotional abuse, and gradually move into, more severe, the physical or sexual abuse, that kind of thing. And then, like you said, that's when honeymoon period would come in. Oh, I'm sorry, I would never do it again. You're gonna leave me? No, please don't. And that's your honeymoon. So it's crazy how it begins with so much trust, and it begins with so much charm and hope of having a healthy relationship that gradually just turns. So
Turns
it's a
nasty.
scary cycle, yeah.
And you're talking about the isolationist period. That's very true. And like I said, hindsight's 20/20. And looking back, I could see where that. Let's go cave exploring, spelunking. Oh, well, I know somebody who died in a cave. He died in a cave because he was in an underwater cave. We're not going underwater. I mean, but it was always something, and usually kind of really out there of why he couldn't do the things with us, because there's always an excuse.
Oh, this is your friend?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like hindsight,
Right, yeah.
it's easy to go, oh, okay, that's what's going on. He was already pulling her and them away from the relationship with the people that she was connected to.
Right. And and then there's always excuses that get made for the abuser. Oh, well, he or she was drinking, or he or she, has this really bad anxiety about this or that. And it becomes excuses
Yeah, they
as to
start making
why this is
excuses for
okay.
them.
It's never okay.
No.
So, that's another kind of barrier, I think, that happens before the process can ever begin to get better, is there are excuses made. There are so many barriers.
And it's really scary to, one of the goals or my hope for the show is to, number one, bring it out into the open, because, you can be more violent against someone if nobody knows about it. So one of the goals is to bring that awareness. We only have a couple more seconds left in this segment, so we'll kind of talk about some things that you guys do, some events that are big coming up when we come back. So get your coffee and we'll be right back.
I'm transferring to the University of West Georgia.
Columbia University,
Kennesaw State,
UGA, Loyola University in Chicago,
Grambling State.
Shorter University. I'm going to Greensboro College, and we all got our start at Georgia Highlands.
No matter where your educational journey takes you, you can get your start at Georgia Highlands College. Georgia Highlands College. Enroll, engage, excel.
Welcome back to GHC Coffee Break. As I said, joining me today is Erin from the Hospitality House in Rome. Hitting some pretty heavy subjects today, and it's one of those things that I think the more we talk about it and the more awareness we can bring about it, as I said, as we was in the show, the goal is to bring awareness. I know you guys do a lot of stuff in the awareness avenue, because we'd rather prevent it than have to deal with it after the aftermath, I guess.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, like you said, October is going to be Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And so in that month, there are a few things that we do every year. One is the Walk a Mile in Her Shoes.
I love that.
And that brings kind of a really fun twist to kind of getting everyone involved in that awareness. You know, it's a day where we're not so heavy for a minute, but we're recognizing this as an issue and as a community. But the Walk a Mile in Her Shoes will be the 16th in October, and everyone, basically what it is, it's an international men's march, and it's to stop rape, sexual assault, and gender violence. So it's all those things under that umbrella of that event. And so what it does is it challenges everyone to put on women's shoes and walk a mile. So we all meet downtown, and everyone dons their heels or sandals or flip-flops, sometimes with flowers, whatever you need to do. And sometimes we're decorating shoes downtown to get ready, but and then everyone walks together from Rotary Park to Heritage Park, and you know, we're going to have the shorter band lead us, you know, through the march, and we'll actually have some live music beginning the event and some contests. You know, they do a sexy leg contest, so guys get up there with their heels and try to strut around in their heels. I think I noticed that before that some guys even shave their legs for this.
Oh. Or wax.
Yeah, I can't imagine. But it's a lot of fun, and even children are out there walking, you know, and it's a great time. But it'll be the 16th, and so that'll be a fun event for the community.
Now, does only men?
No. This is for everyone. Now, it's a men's march, and the main reason that it is a men's march is to get men involved. Right. To find those men that want to stand against domestic violence, that want to stand against sexual assault, you know, because the statistics show that, you know, men definitely are victims.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely. But the statistics show that 85% of abused victims are women. So there's that statistic, which is why we reach out to men.
Right.
So to get involved. So that's the fun event that we do in October, and this will be our 8th annual walk.
That's awesome. I know we've had some Georgia Highlands professors participate in that walk, and staff members participate in that walk in the past.
Awesome, and I hope they do this year, because it's free. I mean, you get your T-shirt. Our T-shirts are going to be great. We kind of have a superhero theme going on this year. That's, you know, real heroes wear heels.
Oh, I love it. So do you have to register for it?
You do have to register. Or, well, you don't have to pre-register. You can register at the walk,
okay.
But you can register online. And the good reason to do that is to go ahead and secure that T-shirt.
Yeah,
so we
I want
know
a
how many T-shirts we so that we know how many T-shirts we need to have. So they can do that through if students or faculty or anyone.
I'm thinking of promoting it with my students.
Right, absolutely. If they find us on Facebook, you'll see all these events. Like, you know, we've got an event in September as well, but you'll see all the events coming up, and it'll link you where you need to go to register.
Perfect.
Like I said, it's free. It's a very short registration. It just asks you if you need shoes and what kind of size T-shirt you need. You know.
So Facebook Hospitality House.
Yep, the Hospitality House for Women on Facebook.
Okay.
And we have that event made on our Facebook page, and what it'll do is it'll link you to our website. which is
Perfect.
just hospitality-house.com or .org.
But it's easy to remember.
It's easy,
Hospitality
y-
House for
right.
women.
I mean, nowadays you want to look anything up,
Facebook.
you can find the business or whatever it is on Facebook. So that's the easiest way I've been telling everyone. But yeah, so that's fun, and it's going to be fantastic this year. I'm really excited. On a kind of a more serious note, we do our candlelight vigil as well in October, and that will be, I believe it's a Thursday, the 22nd.
Okay.
So what we do then is we kind of pay tribute to those that did not survive their situations. So it's a very,
I know, it's like
it's a very, I know, it's a very, very sombering kind of event, but it's very necessary to honor
absolutely.
these folks and the struggles they went through. And you know, we have there's an initiative called the Silent Witness Initiative. So if you've ever been to a candlelight vigil, or if you come, there will be silhouettes, wooden silhouettes, painted red, and there's a story, a plaque.
Wow.
So it tells the story of this person, and some of them are local, and some of them are not, but some of them are families. You know, we have one that's a stepfather, a mother, and a child. I mean, it's a very, very serious event, but it's wonderful too, because you know, we get to honor them and
where
we
is
get to
that
tell
held?
their stories. This year, I can't be sure exactly our venue for this year.
But that'll be on
the
Facebook
venue
too?
that will be on Facebook
Okay.
too. Absolutely, this is a perfect time to start following us on Facebook and know what's coming next, because we've got a lot. But I can't be sure of the venue for this one yet. But we always have a speaker, a survivor, to tell their story as well. And so, obviously, we do the candlelight. So that's a wonderful event, and it's more serious, but it's fantastic because those stories are so important. They get lost, you know, and
Yeah.
and that's heartbreaking to know that someone's struggle is just completely lost, you know.
And I think that's one of the reasons why I shared with you the story earlier of my friend, because the average person might not have even thought about the emotional or verbal abuse. She did get out before it became. I've talked to her since, of course, and said, you know, this would have only gotten worse, or I felt like it would have only gotten worse. It would have eventually gone into more of the physical abuse. The fact that he literally sexually assaulted her, you know, I think it was actually the night before their wedding. Just, you know, that's pretty physical.
Yeah.
But I just really, and I mean, of course, looking back, he wouldn't have. I mean, he would never say that that's what it was. Oh, well, it was consensual. We're getting married, and that's kind of the way he phrased it to her. Oh, we're getting married tomorrow. It's no big deal. And you know, she was coerced to me into it. But looking back, she goes how much she regretted it. But then she's gotten into a pattern where the next person she married did not physically, again, no physical abuse, but one that it became an emotional abusive situation. She said the best thing that came out of that marriage was her 2 wonderful children, but she finally had to leave, and now she's very lonely, and it worries me that she will get into, because they've been divorced probably 5 years maybe, but I really worry about her getting in that same situation again.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely, and that's another, you know, just terrifying thing to know, that cycle kind of continues in that way as well, where you end up in that situation again. And I think that the best thing to do is just know all those signs, you know, for her to be aware of that cycle and how that kind of begins and gradually leads into isolation, and you know, and so for her to know those signs and to be very aware of her own self-worth, so that she always has the motivation and
she don't have to settle.
Right.
But this is a very and again, I think I'm saying this on the show because this is a very intellectual, very smart, very bright woman that on the outside you would not, well, as strongly opinionated as she would never let somebody treat her that way. So it's not just someone that, you know, it's not an upper class, lower class, middle class. It is a every class person that can find themselves in the situation. Yes, it can happen to you, because I've heard that many. Oh, that would never happen to me. That I would never allow that. And then those very people that say that are the ones that find themselves in that situation.
Well, and that's I use the word terrifying again, but because it is. But domestic violence it's non-discriminatory.
Right.
Non-discriminatory. I mean, and that's kind of a misconception, is that domestic violence only happens among the poor or among the uneducated.
Right.
Or it's so very not true. It's happens to everyone. I had my legal advocate likened it to cancer the other day. Cancer knows no boundaries as far as who it affects, who it can reach.
Does it matter on race, sexual origin? I mean, any of those things.
None of those things, yeah. So that's a very, very common misconception that you're going to be, lower class, uneducated. It's a very common misconception. Yeah.
So I think that part of the idea of sharing those kind of stories is that it can happen, and it can be happening right next door to you, and you not realize it. Maybe even in your own, not just your circle of friends, but even in your own circle of family.
I think the best thing to do, as a friend of or a family member of somebody who you might think maybe is going through this, it's a very, very important thing to never. There's what we call victim blaming, and it doesn't mean that you're being mean to your friend or whoever it is. It just means that you're not realizing, when you say, why don't you just leave?
Right.
That's not that easy. We've talked about some of the barriers there, and so that kind of happens. So to be the best support you can be means stay away from the victim blaming and listen to your friend, know what signs you can kind of keep out, and make sure you get resources together for that person, because they might not be seeking it. They might be too scared. It's our website. Most domestic violence websites, if you go, to an agency or that kind of thing, there's always a quick exit tab, because you never know when they could be caught looking for resources. They can be caught looking for help, and so it's a very big deal to be that help and to be that support.
And I think that's, we only have about a minute left. That's one of the things I want to leave our audience with, is the fact that there are resources out there that they can easily access.
Absolutely.
But unfortunately, it is most of the time up to them to access it.
It is up to them. But we have a 24-hour crisis line, and it is 235-HOPE.
235
Simple.
HOPE.
It's a local 706-235-HOPE, and anyone at any point in time at the Hospitality House will be able to help someone calling.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, we've got to take a break.
Okay.
Get your coffee, and we'll be right back with GHC Coffee Break.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds.
Welcome back to GHC Coffee Break. Domestic violence is a very hard subject to talk about. I want to thank you for, first of all, our listening audience, our viewing audience, for allowing us into their living room today. But I want to thank you, Erin, also for being here and talking about a very hard subject. As we go out, let's remind people of some quick resources that they can access pretty quickly if they need to.
Okay, great. Like I said, the Hospitality House, we have a 24-hour crisis line, and it is 235-HOPE. It's easy to remember, 235-HOPE, and you can always get your resources from there. And if we don't necessarily have the exact resources you're looking for, we will find them. So it's a great thing to remember, that number.
And 2 events coming up. One, October 16th.
October 16th is the Walk a Mile in Her Shoes, and October 22nd is the Candlelight Vigil.
Wonderful. And they can find the information about both of these events on
our Facebook page, Hospitality House for Women.
All right. And so thank you again, Erin, for joining us. Until next time, GHC Coffee Break. We'll see you next time.